I'll never forget the moment I opened my front door to see two FBI agents standing there with badges out. Behind me, my maid of honor Sarah was still holding the unopened package, and one of the agents looked directly at it and said, "Ma'am, we need to discuss that package you received. It contains evidence of a federal crime." Sarah squeezed my shoulder and whispered, "I knew something was off about that box." But what really made my blood run cold was when my phone rang 20 minutes later. It was my stepsister Chloe, and her voice was pure panic. "Did anyone else touch the package? Please tell me you opened it yourself. Marie, you have to tell me exactly what happened." That's when I realized the truth. My own stepsister had tried to frame me for federal crimes on what should have been one of my happiest days. But to understand how someone I'd known since childhood could be capable of such calculated evil, I need to start from the very beginning. Hey everyone, this story still makes my hands shake when I tell it. I'm sharing these real revenge stories because I believe people need to hear how toxic family members can truly destroy lives. If you're here for the truth, the drama, and seeing justice served, please hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and share it with anyone who needs to hear these stories. Trust me, you won't believe what my stepsister was capable of. My name is Marie, I'm 28, and I work as a marketing director at a mid-size agency here in Phoenix. 2 weeks ago, I should have been putting the finishing touches on my dream wedding to David, my boyfriend of 3 years. Instead, I was sitting in an FBI field office giving a statement about how my stepsister tried to destroy my life. I finally understand why some people say blood isn't thicker than water. Let me take you back to where this all started. I was 12 when my dad remarried. My mom had died when I was 8, and for 4 years, it had just been me and Dad against the world. He was everything to me, my protector, my cheerleader, my whole world. We had this routine where every Friday night we'd order pizza from Tony's down the street and watch old movies. He never missed a single school event, not even the boring ones like science fairs or band concerts. I remember he used to say, "Marie, it's you and me against the world, kiddo. We're a team." Then Linda came along. Don't get me wrong, I wanted my dad to be happy. I really did. I could see how lonely he'd been after Mom died. But Linda brought her 9-year-old daughter Chloe into our house, and suddenly everything changed. Dad was so desperate to give me a complete family, again, that he bent over backwards to make Chloe feel welcome. I tried so hard to be a good big sister. I really did. I shared my room, my toys, my dad's attention. I helped Chloe with her homework, taught her how to ride a bike, even let her borrow my favorite clothes for picture day at school. But Chloe had this way of turning every situation to her advantage. The first red flag should have been my middle school graduation. I was valedictorian, something I'd worked incredibly hard for. I'd maintained a 4.0 GPA while dealing with my mom's death and adjusting to a new family. This ceremony meant everything to me. Dad had promised to be there. He even took time off work, which he never did. He put it on the calendar, talked about how proud he was, even bought a new camera to take pictures. But that Tuesday morning, Chloe suddenly had what Linda called a panic attack about the crowds at the ceremony. I remember walking into the kitchen that morning in my cap and gown, so excited to show Dad how I looked. But Chloe was at the table hyperventilating and crying. "I can't handle being around that many people," she was sobbing. "What if something bad happens? What if there's a fire? What if someone has a gun?" Linda was rubbing her back and making worried mom noises. "Oh, sweetheart, this is terrible timing. Tom, I don't think we can leave her like this." Dad looked torn. "But it's Marie's graduation. She's valedictorian." "I'll take Marie," Linda said quickly. "You stay with Chloe until she calms down." I felt my heart sink, but I didn't want to make a scene. "It's okay, Dad. Linda can come." So Linda took me to my own graduation ceremony while Dad stayed home with Chloe. Linda didn't know how to work the camera properly. Half the photos were blurry or had her finger over the lens. She kept checking her phone, worried about Chloe. I walked across that stage to accept my valedictorian award, and instead of my dad in the audience, I had my stepmother taking bad pictures and looking like she'd rather be anywhere else. When I got home with my awards and certificates, Chloe was fine. Completely fine. She was in the living room watching Disney Channel and eating ice cream like nothing had happened. "How was the ceremony?" she asked sweetly. "It was fine," I said. But Dad felt so guilty that he took us all out for ice cream later. And somehow, the whole afternoon became about making Chloe feel better about her anxiety, not about celebrating my achievement. That became the pattern. Chloe's emotional needs always trumped my practical ones. When I was 16, I'd saved up for months to pay for driving lessons and my license test. I worked at a local ice cream shop every weekend, Scoops and Dreams, this little family-owned place where I made minimum wage plus tips. Every penny went into a mason jar on my dresser labeled Driving Fund. Dad said learning to drive was my responsibility, which I actually appreciated. I liked earning my independence. I'd been practicing with Mrs. Williams, our neighbor, who was this sweet, elderly lady with infinite patience. We'd spend Saturday mornings in empty parking lots, working on parallel parking and three-point turns. "You're going to pass on the first try," she told me the week before my test. I can feel it. I was so confident. I had my appointment scheduled for 10 a.m. on a Thursday. I'd requested the morning off work, studied the manual cover to cover, and even practiced the written test online until I could ace it blindfolded. The day of my test, I showed up at the DMV 15 minutes early. I had all my paperwork, my birth certificate, my practice log, everything perfect. But when I gave them my name, the clerk frowned at her computer screen. "I'm sorry, but your appointment was canceled." "What?" "No, that's impossible." She turned the screen so I could see. "Someone called yesterday claiming to be you, saying you were sick and needed to reschedule." I felt my stomach drop. "But I'm here. I'm not sick. Can I just take the test anyway?" "I'm sorry, but the next available appointment isn't for 6 weeks. 6 weeks. I lost the summer job I'd lined up at a local pool because I couldn't drive myself there. The manager was understanding, but couldn't hold the position that long. Meanwhile, guess who got her license first despite being 2 years younger? Chloe. And suddenly she had access to Dad's car whenever she wanted to go to the mall or hang out with friends. I later found out she'd been eavesdropping when Mrs. Williams and I were discussing my test date. She knew exactly when it was scheduled. When I confronted her about it, she just shrugged. "I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe you forgot you called? You've been so stressed about the test." The gaslighting was already starting. The college thing was even worse, and it cost me years of my life. I'd worked so hard to get into Arizona State with a partial scholarship opportunity. My grades were excellent, my extracurriculars were solid, and my essay about overcoming loss through family resilience was genuinely good writing. I sent my application via certified mail because Dad had taught me to always keep records of important documents. I have the receipt to this day. It's in my important documents file. But somehow, my application never arrived at the admissions office. I called them 2 weeks after the deadline when I hadn't heard anything. "I'm sorry, but we have no record of receiving your application," the admissions counselor told me. "That's impossible." I sent it certified mail. "Do you have the tracking number?" I did. We tracked it together over the phone. The package had been delivered to the admissions office and signed for by someone named C. Miller. But it had vanished after that. By the time I figured out what happened and reapplied during the late admission period, the scholarship had been awarded to someone else. I had to take a gap year working retail at Target just to save money for tuition. I remember crying in the break room at Target on my 19th birthday, thinking about how I should have been starting my sophomore year of college instead of folding t-shirts for $8 an hour. Meanwhile, Chloe got accepted to some expensive private art school in California, and Linda convinced Dad to pay full tuition because Chloe's artistic soul needs nurturing, and you can't put a price on creativity. I took out student loans and worked 3 part-time jobs to pay for my education when I finally got to start. But none of those incidents compared to what happened when I was 23. That one nearly destroyed my career before it even started. I'd finally landed an interview at Morrison & Associates, this prestigious marketing firm downtown. It was my absolute dream job. They handled major corporate clients, international campaigns, everything I'd been working toward. The interview process was intensive. 3 rounds, including a presentation I'd spent weeks preparing. But I'd made it to the final stage, and they'd invited me to a company networking event to meet the team before making their decision. I was so excited I could barely sleep. I bought a new outfit, a navy blue blazer and matching skirt that cost more than I usually spent on clothes in 3 months. I practiced my elevator pitch in the mirror until I had it memorized. I researched every person who was going to be there, their backgrounds, their recent projects, conversation starters. The networking event was at this upscale hotel downtown. I arrived right on time, confident and prepared. But from the moment I walked in, something felt off. People would start conversations with me and then suddenly find excuses to walk away. They'd ask my name, and their expressions would change immediately. "Oh, you're Marie Johnson," one woman said, and I could hear the distaste in her voice. "Yes, that's me. I'm so excited to meet everyone." She just walked away without another word. After an hour of similar interactions, I was confused and embarrassed. Finally, I cornered Janet Morrison, the company founder, and asked directly what was going on. "Ms. Johnson, I have to say, I'm surprised you came tonight after the conversation we had yesterday." "What conversation?" "I didn't talk to you yesterday." She frowned. "Someone called claiming to be you. They said some very concerning things about our company culture and client base. It took 3 weeks and multiple meetings to find out what had happened. Someone had called Morrison and Associates pretending to be me, making racist comments about their diverse client roster and saying I thought their company culture was too liberal for my comfort. They'd also told Janet that I was concerned about working with certain types of people and that I preferred more traditional work environments. It was devastating. These were values completely opposite to everything I believed in. But the damage was done. Even after I proved I hadn't made that call, the trust was broken. I later found out that Chloe had been working a temp job in the same building as Morrison and Associates. She had access to the company directory, knew all about my interview process, and had plenty of time during her lunch breaks to make that call. When I confronted her about it, she didn't even try to deny it. "I was trying to help you avoid stress," she said. "That job seemed too demanding for someone like you anyway. You're better off somewhere less competitive." Someone like me. As if I was weak. As if I couldn't handle success. But the moment that broke me completely was what happened with my grandmother's ring. Dad's mother died when I was 25. Grandma Rose had always been special to me. She was the one who taught me to cook her famous snickerdoodles, who listened to my problems without trying to fix them, who made me feel like I mattered just by being myself. The day after her funeral, we gathered at Dad's house to read her will. Grandma Rose had left most of her belongings to Dad, but she'd specifically mentioned me in regards to her jewelry collection. To my granddaughter Marie, the lawyer read, "I leave my engagement ring and jewelry collection." She has always appreciated beautiful things and understood their sentimental value. It wasn't worth a fortune, maybe $5,000 total, but it was precious because it was hers. Her engagement ring from Grandpa Joe, her pearl earrings from her own mother, her charm bracelet with charms from every vacation she and Grandpa had taken together. But Linda immediately stepped in. "Of course, we'll need to have everything appraised for insurance purposes," she said. "These pieces are too valuable to just hand over without proper documentation." She insisted on taking everything for safekeeping while she worked with their insurance company. Months went by. Every time I asked about the jewelry, Linda would say she was still working with the insurance company, still getting things appraised, still dealing with paperwork. "These things take time, Marie. You can't rush insurance companies." Then one random Tuesday, I was at Central Coffee downtown, working on my laptop during my lunch break, when I saw Chloe at a table with her friends. She was wearing Grandma Rose's engagement ring. My grandmother's ring. On her left hand like it was an engagement ring from some boyfriend. I stared for a moment, thinking maybe I was seeing things. But no, it was definitely Grandma's ring. The vintage setting, the small diamond with the unique cut, the tiny engraving on the band that said, "Forever Rose." I walked over to their table. "Chloe, what are you doing wearing Grandma's ring?" She looked down at her hand like she'd forgotten she was wearing it. "Oh, this? Mom said I could borrow it for a special occasion." "Borrow it?" "That ring was left to me in Grandma's will." Her friends were staring now, clearly uncomfortable with the family drama. It's just sitting in a box at Mom's house, Chloe said. At least someone's enjoying it. It's not supposed to be enjoyed by you. It's mine. God, Marie, you're being so selfish. It's just a ring. That's when I found out the truth. When I got home that night, I called Linda and demanded to know what was going on. Chloe has been having some financial anxiety, Linda explained. We thought wearing some of the pieces would help her feel more secure. Financial anxiety? What does that even mean? She's been worried about money, and having access to beautiful things helps her feel better about her situation. Over the next few days, I discovered that Chloe had been slowly selling pieces on eBay. Grandma's pearl earrings, her charm bracelet, her brooch collection, all sold to fund Chloe's latest shopping sprees and failed business ventures. When I demanded everything back immediately, Linda lost it. Chloe has anxiety about money, Marie. These are just things. Material possessions. Your grandmother would want her granddaughter to feel secure. I'm her granddaughter too. You have a job. You have stability. Chloe needs this more than you do. Just things. My grandmother's memory was just things. That night, I sat in my apartment holding the few pieces I'd managed to get back, and I realized the truth. To them, I wasn't family to protect. I was an obstacle to overcome. A resource to be used up and discarded when convenient. I moved further across town that month. I switched to minimal contact, just showing up for mandatory family dinners once a month to keep Dad happy. But I was done begging for their love. Done trying to prove I was worth their respect. For the first time in my adult life, I decided to build my own life instead. Moving away from my family was the best decision I ever made. For the first time in my adult life, I could focus on my own goals without worrying about sabotage. I threw myself into my career and discovered I had a real talent for social media marketing. There's something about understanding how people communicate online, how to spot fake accounts and manipulation tactics. Maybe all those years of dealing with Chloe's games had given me skills I didn't even realize I had. I started at this small digital agency called Bright Ideas Marketing. My boss, Janet, was this no-nonsense woman in her 50s who valued results over politics. She actually listened to my ideas instead of dismissing them. Marie, you have an instinct for this work, she told me after my first month. You can spot fake engagement and bot accounts faster than people with years of experience. Where did you learn that? I almost laughed. Survival skills. Within 6 months, I was handling major client accounts. Companies would come to us when they had problems with fake reviews, stolen social media accounts, or online harassment campaigns. They'd send me the evidence, and I'd trace the digital breadcrumbs back to the source. I became the go-to person for crisis management and digital investigations. When a local restaurant was getting bombarded with fake negative reviews, I traced them back to a competitor's employee. When a fashion boutique's Instagram account got hacked, I found the security vulnerability and helped them recover it. For the first time in my life, I felt truly valued for my skills and intelligence. I started building real friendships through work, hiking groups, and volunteer work at the animal shelter. I was learning what healthy relationships actually looked like, people who celebrated your successes instead of undermining them, people who supported you during difficult times instead of creating more drama. My coworker Sarah became my closest friend. She worked in corporate security, so she understood the investigative side of my job. But more than that, she was just genuinely good people. Sarah would check in when I was having rough days, remember important things I'd told her, and never once made me feel like I was too much or too sensitive. You know what I love about you, Marie? She told me one day when we were hiking Camelback Mountain. You don't play games. You say what you mean, and you mean what you say. It's refreshing. I almost cried hearing that. I'd spent so many years being told I was too direct, too serious, too much work. That's how I met David. We were both at this outdoor hiking meetup, one of those things where strangers get together to explore local trails. I almost didn't go because I was nervous about meeting new people, but Sarah convinced me I needed to get out of my comfort zone. Marie, you spend too much time alone, she said. You need to meet people who don't know your history. The group was meeting at South Mountain Park for a moderate trail. I showed up early because I hate being late, and there was this guy sitting on a picnic table reading a book while he waited. Good book? I asked. He looked up and smiled. It's about digital privacy and security. Probably boring to most people. Actually, that sounds fascinating. I work in digital marketing, so privacy and security are huge parts of my job. That's how our first conversation started. Not with pickup lines or small talk about the weather, but with a genuine shared interest. David was different from the start. He didn't try to impress me with stories about his job as a software engineer or his car or his apartment. He just listened. When I talked, he actually heard me. When I made a joke, he laughed because it was funny, not because he wanted something from me. We ended up hiking together that day, and I found myself actually relaxing for the first time in months. David asked thoughtful questions about my work and my interests. He told me about his job developing security software for small businesses, and I could tell he genuinely loved what he did. "Want to grab coffee after this?" he asked when we finished the trail. I almost said no out of habit, but something about David felt safe. "Sure," I said. "I know a place." It took me months to trust him completely. I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, for him to show his true colors, for the manipulation to start. But David was patient. He never pushed for more than I was ready to give, never made me feel guilty for needing space or time. His family was a revelation. David's parents, Mike and Carol, were divorced, but had figured out how to co-parent without drama. They welcomed me immediately, not because they had to, but because they genuinely wanted to get to know me. The first time David took me to a family barbecue, I was terrified. I kept waiting for the interrogation, the judgment, the subtle digs about my family or my background. Instead, Carol asked about my work and actually listened to my answers. Mike wanted to know about my hiking adventures and shared stories about his own outdoor experiences. David's sister Emma treated me like I'd always been part of the family. "David's told us so much about you," Carol said while we were preparing salad in the kitchen. "He lights up when he talks about you. It's wonderful to see him so happy." No one had ever described me as making someone light up before. For the first time in my life, I experienced what healthy family dynamics looked like. People who supported each other's successes. People who resolved conflicts with actual conversation instead of manipulation and guilt trips. People who said what they meant and meant what they said. David's family had their disagreements, but they talked through them like adults. No one stormed out, no one gave anyone the silent treatment, no one used emotional manipulation to get their way. It was like discovering a whole new way of being human. Meanwhile, my career was taking off. I got promoted to senior marketing director and started handling major corporate clients. The work was challenging and rewarding, and I was finally making real money, enough to have savings, enough to travel, enough to feel financially secure. I kept my achievements private from my stepfamily, though. Hard experience had taught me that sharing good news with them was just giving them ammunition for their next attack. But with David and his family, I could celebrate my wins. When I got promoted, they took me out to dinner. When I landed a major client, Carol sent me a congratulations card. When I spoke at a marketing conference, Mike actually came to listen. The irony is that all the skills I was developing to help my clients, the ability to spot deception, track digital fraud, recognize manipulation tactics, those skills would eventually save my life. But I didn't know that yet. Marie's transformation from family scapegoat to successful professional is incredible, right? But toxic family members don't just give up when you start succeeding. They get more dangerous. If you're invested in seeing how this plays out, please hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, and share this with anyone who's dealt with toxic family drama. These stories show how resilience can overcome the worst family situations, and I want to bring you more of them. David proposed on a hiking trip to Sedona. We'd been together for 2.5 years, and I knew it was coming, but it still took my breath away. We were on Cathedral Rock at sunset, and the red rocks were glowing like they were lit from within. David had been acting nervous all day, fumbling with his backpack, checking his watch constantly. "Marie," he said, getting down on one knee right there on the rocks, "you've made me believe in real love. The kind that's patient and kind and doesn't keep score. Will you marry me?" I said yes before he even finished asking the question. For the first time in my life, I felt like I deserved something beautiful. We spent that night in a little bed and breakfast in Sedona, planning our future and talking about the kind of wedding we wanted. Something small and meaningful, focused on the people who really mattered to us. But I knew I had to tell my family, and I was dreading it. I waited until our monthly family dinner to share the news. These dinners were my one concession to keeping peace with Dad. Once a month, I'd show up at their house and endure 2 hours of Chloe's latest drama and Linda's passive-aggressive comments about my life choices. That month, Chloe was going through her wellness influencer phase. She'd covered their dining room table with essential oils and crystals, explaining her latest business venture involving manifesting prosperity through aromatic healing. So, I have some news, I said during a lull in Chloe's presentation about how lavender oil could cure financial anxiety. Everyone looked at me expectantly. David and I are engaged. The reaction was, interesting. Dad genuinely lit up. Marie, that's wonderful. David's a good man. I'm so happy for you, sweetheart. Linda's smile looked like it had been painted on with a brush. Oh, how exciting. When's the date? This is such big news. Have you thought about venues? Oh, and Chloe will make such a beautiful maid of honor. I took a deep breath. Actually, Sarah is my maid of honor. She's been my best friend for years, and she's the one who's been there for all the important moments. Chloe can be a regular guest, of course. The room went completely silent. I watched Chloe's face go completely blank for just a moment before the forced smile appeared. But her eyes looked dangerous. Of course, she said sweetly. Whatever makes you happy, Marie. I'm just so excited to celebrate with you. But then the questions started. Lots of questions. When's the wedding? Where are you having it? How many people are you inviting? What's your budget? Where are you going for your honeymoon? She wanted to know everything about David's job, about his family, about where we met, about the engagement ring, about our timeline. She was taking mental notes of every detail I shared. David works in software, right? That must pay well, Linda said. He does okay, I said carefully. And his family is local? Chloe asked. His parents live in Scottsdale. What do they do? I should have recognized the interrogation for what it was, but I was just trying to get through dinner without conflict. Over the next few weeks, I started noticing weird things. Chloe's social media activity had increased dramatically, and she was suddenly very interested in my posts. She'd like and comment on everything I shared about the wedding planning, asking for more details in the comments. So excited for you, sister. Tell me everything about the venue. Your ring is gorgeous. David has such good taste. I can't wait to meet his family. She created what looked like a fake LinkedIn profile, Chloe Martin, instead of Chloe Peterson, and somehow connected with several of David's colleagues. When David mentioned it, we both thought it was strange, but not necessarily threatening. Some woman named Chloe Martin connected with me on LinkedIn, he told me. Says she's interested in software development. But when I looked at her profile, it's pretty sparse. That's weird. Did you accept the connection? No, something felt off about it. Then the phone calls started. David began getting odd calls at his office asking about wedding planning services and whether he was satisfied with his current vendors. The callers claimed to be conducting market research for local businesses. They knew I was getting married, David told me. They asked specific questions about our timeline, our budget, our guest count. How would market researchers know that? My professional instincts kicked in. I started screenshotting Chloe's social media activity, documenting the timeline of these weird incidents. Something was building, and I wanted evidence. The real sabotage started about 2 months before the wedding. First, our venue received a call from someone claiming to be me, trying to change our wedding date from June 15th to October 15th, a weekend that was already booked for another event. When I called to confirm our original date, the coordinator was confused. But you called yesterday asking to move it, she said. The woman said she was Marie Johnson, and she knew all your details, your deposit amount, your package selection, even your special dietary requests. I absolutely did not call. Our date is June 15th, and I want to keep it that way. I had to provide 2 forms of ID and answer security questions about my original booking before they'd confirm our date was still secured. Then our caterer got an email supposedly from me, completely changing our menu to include foods David is severely allergic to. Shellfish, tree nuts, peanut sauce, all the things that could literally kill him. The email came from an address that looked like mine but wasn't, marie.wedding2023@gmail.com instead of my real email address. We thought it was strange that you'd order foods your fiancé can't eat, the caterer told me when I called to ask what was going on. But the email had all your correct information, so we assumed you knew what you were doing. The wedding dress incident was the worst. I'd ordered a custom dress from this beautiful boutique downtown called Bridal. It was exactly what I'd always dreamed of, simple but elegant, with delicate lace sleeves and a flowing skirt. The designer, Maria, had worked with me for months on every detail. 3 weeks before the wedding, Maria called me in a panic. "Marie, I'm so sorry, but I got your cancellation message." I tried calling back to confirm, but the number went to voicemail. "What cancellation?" "I never canceled anything. Someone called yesterday saying you'd decided to go with a different designer. They knew all your measurements, your deposit amount, even the specific changes we'd made to the neckline." My heart sank. "Maria, I never called you. I need that dress." It took hours of conversation and showing multiple forms of ID before Maria believed I hadn't canceled. She had to completely rearrange her schedule and rush to have the dress ready in time. "This is the strangest thing that's ever happened in my 20 years of business," she told me. Each incident required me to prove my identity, answer security questions, provide documentation. It was exhausting and stressful, and it was clearly designed to make my wedding planning a nightmare. Sarah, my maid of honor, started keeping a detailed log of every incident. "Marie, this isn't random bad luck," she told me over coffee one Saturday morning. "Someone is systematically trying to sabotage your wedding. And we both know who." I used my work skills to trace some of the calls. Several came from VoIP numbers registered under fake names, but the timing was always suspicious. Every incident happened during hours when Chloe would have been free to make calls, late mornings when she typically didn't have meetings for her latest business venture. "Look at this pattern," I showed Sarah my documentation. "Every call happened between 10 a.m. and noon on weekdays. That's exactly when Chloe would be available." "You need to confront her," Sarah said. "And say what?" "Stop sabotaging my wedding with no proof." "Then get proof." That's when I started really investigating. I created fake social media accounts to monitor Chloe's online activity. I documented every strange phone call David received. I started recording our family dinners when wedding topics came up. What I found was disturbing. Chloe had been systematically researching David's family and background. She'd found articles about his dad's small business, looked up property records for his parents' house, even found old social media posts about family vacations. She knew details about our relationship that I'd never shared with her, things she could only have learned by deep diving into our social media histories or talking to mutual acquaintances. I was starting to realize this wasn't just jealousy or sibling rivalry. This was something much more calculated and dangerous. But I had no idea how far she was willing to go. The systematic way Chloe was sabotaging Marie's wedding is genuinely disturbing, right? Like, this isn't just sibling jealousy. This is stalker behavior. If you're as creeped out as I am by this level of planning and deception, please hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and share your own toxic family stories in the comments. You won't believe how much worse this gets. 2 weeks before the wedding, Sarah organized my bridal shower. She knew how stressed I'd been with all the sabotage attempts, so she deliberately kept it small and intimate, just 15 people including David's sister Emma and his mom Carol. "I want this to be about celebrating you," Sarah told me when we were planning it. "No drama, no stress, just love and support." We rented the private dining room at Sage, this lovely restaurant downtown that specialized in afternoon tea service. Sarah had decorated everything with white and gold balloons, peonies, and eucalyptus arrangements, and she'd even made a photo timeline of David and me through the years. It was exactly what I needed, elegant, personal, and peaceful. I deliberately didn't post details about the shower on social media. After everything that had been happening, I wanted one event that Chloe couldn't interfere with. I made a private Instagram story visible only to the people who were invited, and I asked everyone to keep the details offline. But Chloe found out anyway. Michelle, a friend from college who's also friends with Chloe through mutual connections, mentioned it to her the night before the shower. Michelle had no idea about the family drama. She just thought she was making conversation. My phone rang at 9 p.m. the night before the shower. Marie, I just heard about your shower tomorrow from Michelle. I can't believe you didn't invite me. Chloe's voice had that hurt, innocent tone she'd perfected over the years. The one that made me feel guilty even when I knew she was manipulating me. Chloe, it's really small. Just close friends and David's family. But I'm your sister. How could you have a bridal shower without your sister? Linda's heart is going to be broken when she finds out. Not stepsister. Sister. She always used that word when she wanted something. In the background, I could hear Linda's voice. Is that Marie? Put her on speaker. Marie, this is really hurtful, Linda said. Chloe has been so excited to celebrate with you. She's been talking about your wedding for weeks. I felt that familiar pressure, that old family dynamic trying to pull me back in. The guilt, the obligation, the suggestion that I was being unreasonable and selfish. We've already ordered food and flowers for a specific number of people, I said weakly. I'm sure one more person won't matter, Linda pressed. Chloe could even help serve or clean up. She just wants to be part of your special day. Against my better judgment, I caved. Fine. But Sarah organized this, so you'll need to check with her about the details. And Chloe, please don't make this about you. It's supposed to be a peaceful celebration. Of course, Chloe said, her voice suddenly bright and cheerful. I just want to support you, Marie. I'm so happy you're including me. I called Sarah afterward to warn her, and she was not happy. Marie, you know this is a mistake. I know. But it's one afternoon. What could really go wrong? Famous last words. The shower started at 2 p.m. on a beautiful Saturday afternoon. The private dining room at Sage was perfect. Big windows overlooking the downtown area, elegant table settings, and Sarah's decorations made everything feel magical. We had mimosas and fancy tea sandwiches, and I was opening the most thoughtful gifts. Sarah had given me this gorgeous lingerie set with a card that made me cry, something about being proud of the strong, independent woman I'd become. David's mom, Carol, had put together a cookbook of family recipes with handwritten notes about the stories behind each dish. Every family has their food traditions, she said. These are ours, and now they're yours too. Emma had made me a photo album of sister-in-law adventures we'd already shared, hiking trips, concerts, girls' nights. I never had a sister before, she wrote in the card. Thank you for being mine. But Chloe never showed up. Around 2:30, my phone buzzed with a text from her. So sorry, Marie. Emergency came up with one of my clients. Have to cancel last minute. Hope you have a beautiful day. Can't wait to hear all about it. I was honestly relieved. Sarah caught my eye and smiled knowingly. Sometimes problems solve themselves, she whispered. For the first hour, I was feeling genuinely happy and celebrated. The conversation was flowing, everyone was laughing, and for a few hours, I forgot about all the wedding stress and just enjoyed being surrounded by people who loved me. Then the FedEx truck arrived. We heard the delivery truck pull up outside, and a few minutes later, there was a knock on the private dining room door. Package for Marie Johnson, the driver called out. I wasn't expecting anything. All the shower gifts had either been brought by hand or delivered to my apartment in advance. That's strange, Sarah said, standing up to accept the package. The driver handed over this large, professional-looking box. It was beautifully wrapped with a shipping label that read Bridal Shower Gift, handle with care, fragile. The return address showed CLK Enterprises with a local P.O. box number. I didn't recognize the company name, but the packaging looked expensive and official. Ooh, fancy, my coworker Jessica said. Who's it from? I looked for a gift card, but didn't see one attached to the outside. I'm not sure. The return address just says CLK Enterprises. Maybe it's from one of David's work colleagues? Emma suggested. But Carol shook her head. Everyone from our side is here. This must be from someone on Marie's side. That's when Sarah stepped in. Marie, wait. Don't open that yet. Everyone looked at her like she was being paranoid. Sarah, it's just a gift, Jessica said. Someone probably wanted to surprise Marie. But Sarah works in corporate security, and she was studying the package with professional intensity. "Something's not right about this," she said. "Look at this box." She pointed out details I hadn't noticed. The box was heavier than it should be for typical shower gifts. The shipping label looked like it came from business equipment, not a home printer. The return address was a P.O. box instead of a street address. Most importantly, there was something about the way it was packaged that felt institutional. Like it came from a warehouse, not from someone's home. "This doesn't feel like a personal gift," Sarah said. "This feels like a business shipment." My friends thought we were being ridiculous. "It's probably just expensive wrapping," Michelle said. "Maybe it's from a high-end store that packages everything professionally. Or maybe it's something really special," Chloe added helpfully. "You should open it. We're all dying to see what it is." But I looked at the box again, and suddenly all my professional instincts were screaming. The weight distribution felt wrong. The packaging was too generic. And that company name, CLK Enterprises, it sounded like a shell company. I thought about all the wedding sabotage we'd been experiencing. The fake phone calls, the forged emails, the mysterious business inquiries. "Sarah's right," I said. "This doesn't feel right." "So what do we do?" Emma asked. Sarah was already pulling out her phone. "We call the police." "The police?" Chloe said, her voice suddenly sharp. "That seems extreme. It's just a wedding gift." "Better safe than sorry," Sarah said firmly. "If we're wrong, we'll feel silly for an hour. If we're right." She didn't finish that sentence, but she didn't need to. The other women at the shower thought we were being completely paranoid. "You're going to call the police over a bridal shower gift," Jessica said. "That seems really extreme." But Sarah was firm. "In my line of work, we don't take chances with suspicious packages. If we're wrong, we'll laugh about it later. If we're right, Marie could be in serious trouble." I trusted Sarah's expertise. She'd worked in corporate security for 8 years and had dealt with everything from employee threats to industrial espionage. If she thought something was wrong, I believed her. The non-emergency line connected us to a dispatcher who also sounded skeptical at first. "You received a package you weren't expecting?" the dispatcher asked. I explained about all the wedding sabotage we'd been experiencing, the fake calls, the forged emails, the mysterious business inquiries David had been getting. "Someone has been systematically trying to disrupt our wedding," I said. "And now this package shows up with no real return address, and it feels wrong." When I put it all together like that, it sounded more serious. "We'll send an officer over to take a look," the dispatcher said. "Don't handle the package until they arrive." Officer Martinez arrived about 20 minutes later. He was probably in his mid-40s, professional, but clearly thinking this was going to be a waste of time. "So you received a package you weren't expecting?" he asked, looking around the room at 15 women in party dresses holding champagne glasses. It did seem a little absurd in that setting. I explained the situation again, the pattern of harassment, the suspicious packaging, Sarah's professional concerns about the way it was shipped. Officer Martinez put on gloves and examined the package carefully. "Well, let's see what we're dealing with." He used a box cutter to open it slowly, methodically, following what I assume was standard protocol for suspicious packages. Inside was layer after layer of bubble wrap, packed very carefully. And underneath, the most beautiful designer items I'd ever seen. Handbags, shoes, jewelry, everything looked incredibly expensive and luxurious. There were several designer purses that looked like they cost more than my monthly rent, shoes that were clearly high-end Italian leather, and jewelry that sparkled under the restaurant's lighting. "Well, this looks like someone really loves you," Officer Martinez said, clearly relieved. "These are some expensive gifts." Everyone else in the room was oohing and awing over the beautiful items. "Marie, these are gorgeous," Emma said. "Whoever sent this has amazing taste." But Sarah was still frowning. "Officer, these items look too expensive to be casual gifts. And why would someone ship them in such institutional packaging?" Officer Martinez picked up one of the handbags and examined the authentication card that came with it. His expression changed. "Ma'am, do you mind if I scan this barcode?" He used some kind of scanner app on his phone to check the barcode on the authentication card. The results made him frown deeply. This item is flagged in our database as part of an ongoing federal investigation. The room went completely silent. You could have heard a pin drop. What kind of investigation? Sarah asked. Officer Martinez was already on his radio, calling for backup. I need to contact federal agents. Don't touch anything else in that box. Federal agents. FBI. My bridal shower had just become a crime scene. The next hour was surreal. Officer Martinez moved all of us away from the package and called his supervisor. Then his supervisor called someone else. Then that person called the FBI. We were all sitting around the dining room table in our party dresses, watching officers treat my gift like it was a bomb. This can't be happening, I kept saying to Sarah. This is supposed to be my bridal shower. Something is very wrong here, Marie, Sarah said. Someone wanted you to have these items. The question is why. 2 FBI agents arrived within an hour. Agent Rodriguez and Agent Kim. They were professional but serious in a way that made my stomach drop. Miss Johnson, I'm Agent Rodriguez. We've been tracking a sophisticated counterfeit operation for the past 8 months, he explained. The items in this package match merchandise we've been investigating. They carefully examined every item in the box. Designer handbags, shoes, jewelry, all high-end knockoffs that looked incredibly authentic to the untrained eye. These are very good counterfeits, Agent Kim said. Someone paid a lot of money for quality fakes. But the real bombshell came when they found the paperwork hidden in the bottom of the box. Underneath all the bubble wrap and fake designer goods were official-looking documents. Business licenses, import forms, shipping manifests. And they all showed me as the owner of CLK Enterprises. My name, my address, my signature, or at least a very convincing forgery of it. Ms. Johnson, according to these documents, you've been operating an international counterfeit goods business for the past 6 months, Agent Rodriguez said. I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. That's impossible. I've never seen these documents before in my life. That's not even my signature. I pulled out my driver's license to show them my real signature. The one on the documents was close, but definitely off. Someone has been building a paper trail to make you look like the leader of this operation, Agent Kim said. Agent Rodriguez pulled out his phone and showed me an official business registration database. CLK Enterprises, registered 6 months ago. The address listed was my apartment. The signature was close to mine, but I could see the differences. This business was registered just 2 weeks after your engagement announcement was posted on social media, Agent Rodriguez noted. The timeline was chilling. Someone had started planning this the moment they knew I was getting married. Agent Rodriguez, Sarah spoke up, Marie has been experiencing systematic harassment and sabotage for months. Someone has been trying to destroy her wedding plans. I explained everything, the venue calls, the catering changes, the dress shop cancellation, the mysterious business inquiries David had been getting at work. It sounds like someone was setting you up for this moment, Agent Kim said. They wanted you to be caught with evidence. But why? I asked. The plan seems to have been for you to open this package in front of witnesses, Agent Rodriguez explained. If you'd opened it yourself, handled the items, your fingerprints would be on everything. Combined with the forged business documents, it would look like you were running the operation. That's when my phone rang. It was Chloe. Agent Rodriguez looked at me. Answer it. But put it on speaker. We need to hear what she says. My hands were shaking as I answered the call and set it to speaker so the agents could hear. Hey Marie. How's the shower going? Did you get any surprise gifts? The room was dead silent. Everyone was staring at my phone. It's going fine, Chloe, I said carefully. Did you get our special delivery? Did you love the surprise? Our special delivery. She just incriminated herself on a recorded call with federal agents listening. Chloe, I said slowly, there are FBI agents here. This package you're asking about contains evidence in a federal crime. The silence on the other end was deafening. I could almost hear her panic through the phone. Then, what? No, that's impossible. You were supposed to just, oh God, oh God, oh God. This wasn't supposed to happen. I was supposed to just what, Chloe? You were supposed to open it. You were supposed to open it yourself. Why didn't you open it? Agent Rodriguez gestured for me to keep her talking. Why did you want me to open it, Chloe? Because. Marie, you don't understand. You have everything. You have the perfect job, the perfect fiancé, the perfect life. It's not fair. So you decided to frame me for federal crimes? But the line had gone dead. Agent Rodriguez looked at Agent Kim. That was a full confession. If this story has you as shocked as it had me, please smash that like button, hit subscribe, and share this with everyone. The conclusion is going to leave you speechless. The FBI moved with terrifying efficiency after that phone call. Within 3 hours, they had search warrants for Linda and Dad's house and all of Chloe's electronic devices. What they found was even worse than I'd imagined. Chloe had converted Linda's basement into a sophisticated counterfeit goods operation. The basement, which used to be Dad's workshop, was now stacked floor to ceiling with boxes of fake designer handbags, shoes, jewelry, and watches. All high-quality knockoffs that would fool most people. Your stepsister was running a multi-million-dollar business out of your father's basement, Agent Rodriguez told me when he called with the update. She had suppliers in China, Malaysia, and Italy. This wasn't some small-time operation. Linda claimed she thought the boxes were just inventory for Chloe's online boutique business, but the FBI found evidence that she'd been actively helping with packaging and shipping. Your stepmother knew exactly what was going on, Agent Kim explained. We found her fingerprints on shipping labels, and she'd been using her own credit card to pay for some of the shipping costs. But the digital evidence was the most damning. Chloe's computer contained thousands of emails with international suppliers, detailed financial records, and a comprehensive plan for using my identity as a legitimate business front. They found screenshots of my social media posts going back 2 years. Photos of my engagement ring, pictures with David, details about my job, even screenshots of conversations I'd had with friends in comment sections. She'd been studying my life like it was her full-time job. She had files on you, Marie, Agent Kim explained. Your work schedule, your friends' names, details about David's family, your addresses going back 5 years. This level of surveillance is honestly disturbing. The FBI also found what Agent Rodriguez called her escape plan, a fake passport with her photo, but the name Claire Martinez, and a bank account in the Cayman Islands where she'd been moving money for months. Your stepsister was planning to disappear after your arrest, Agent Rodriguez explained during my official interview. She would have taken the business profits, we're talking about close to $2 million, and vanished, leaving you to face federal charges while she started a new life in another country. The timeline they reconstructed was chilling. Chloe had started planning this operation literally the day after I posted about my engagement on social media. She'd registered the fake business 2 weeks later, using forged versions of my signature and copies of documents Linda had given her access to. The wedding sabotage was all designed to stress you out and make you vulnerable, Agent Kim explained. She wanted you emotionally exhausted and desperate for something to go right, so you'd be more likely to open a surprise gift without questioning it. It wasn't just jealousy about my wedding. Chloe had been planning to destroy my life and profit from it while escaping to a new identity. Linda's involvement was significant too. The evidence showed she'd provided Chloe with access to all my old documents, tax returns, ID copies, examples of my handwriting from birthday cards, even my social security number from when I'd lived at home. Text messages between them revealed Linda knew about Chloe's business and had actively helped her forge my identity. Linda to Chloe, I found Marie's old passport application in the filing cabinet. Her signature from when she was 20. Chloe to Linda, perfect. The older signatures are easier to match. Linda to Chloe, are you sure this will work? Chloe to Linda, she deserves this. She's always acted like she's better than us. The legal consequences came swiftly. Chloe was arrested on multiple federal charges: counterfeiting, wire fraud, identity theft, conspiracy, and money laundering. With all the evidence they had, the digital trail, the recorded confession, the forged documents, her lawyer advised her to take a plea deal. The prosecution was not interested in going easy on her. Your stepsister was looking at potentially 20 years in federal prison if she went to trial, the prosecutor told me. The plea deal was the best she was going to get. 3 years in federal prison. 5 years probation after release. complete restitution of all stolen money plus damages, forfeiture of all business assets. And she's permanently banned from operating any business that involves international trade or online sales. Linda was charged as an accessory and conspiracy. She tried to claim she thought Chloe was running a legitimate resale business, but those text messages and the fact that she'd provided access to my personal documents told a different story. 6 months of house arrest with electronic monitoring. 2 years probation. 500 hours of community service. Significant fines. And both she and Chloe now have permanent federal criminal records. The civil lawsuit was almost anticlimactic compared to the criminal case. Our lawyer was able to recover not only the money Chloe had stolen using my identity, but also significant damages for emotional distress and the attempted destruction of my reputation. Between the criminal restitution and the civil judgment, I received over $100,000 in damages. But more importantly than the money, I got justice. And I got my grandmother's jewelry back. Linda had been forced to surrender everything during the asset forfeiture process. My name was completely cleared, of course, but the emotional damage was significant. Knowing that someone I'd lived with, someone I'd tried to love as a sister, had been planning my destruction for months, it changes you. Dad was genuinely shocked by everything. He came to me after Chloe's arrest with tears in his eyes. "Marie, I failed you as a father," he said. "I was so focused on keeping the peace and making everyone happy that I let them hurt you for years. I should have protected you. I should have seen what was happening." It was the first real apology I'd ever gotten from him, and I could tell he meant it. "I can't undo the damage I allowed," he continued. "But I want you to know that I see it now. I see how wrong I was, and I'm sorry. We've been working on rebuilding our relationship slowly. Dad comes to dinner at my and David's house once a month now, without Linda. He's trying to make amends, and while it doesn't erase the past, I appreciate the effort." The wedding went forward as planned 2 weeks after the FBI investigation concluded. David had suggested postponing it, but I refused. "I'm not letting her take that away from us too," I told him. David did insist on hiring additional security, not because we thought anyone would cause trouble, but because I needed to feel completely safe on my wedding day. After everything that had happened, we wanted to be absolutely certain there would be no disruptions. The wedding was perfect. Small and intimate, just like we'd originally planned. Sarah gave the most beautiful maid of honor speech about trusting your instincts and protecting the people you love. "To Marie and David," she said, raising her champagne glass, "and to the family we choose, not the one we're born into. Marie, you've shown incredible strength and grace through everything that's happened. You deserve all the happiness in the world." David's parents both cried. Hell, everyone cried, including me. After the reception, David and I started a new tradition. We have Friday night pizza and movie nights, just like Dad and I used to when I was little. But now it includes David and sometimes Sarah and David's family when they're in town. It's infinitely better than anything I had growing up. 6 months after the wedding, I got a letter from Chloe in federal prison. She wanted to apologize, to explain herself, to ask for forgiveness and a chance to rebuild our relationship when she gets out. I returned it unopened. I'm done giving her access to my life, even just to hurt me one more time. She doesn't get to take up space in my head anymore. She made her choices, and now she gets to live with the consequences. Dad asked me recently if I'd ever forgive her, and I told him the truth. I forgive her for my own peace of mind, because holding on to anger would only hurt me. But forgiveness doesn't mean trust. And it doesn't mean having her in my life ever again. Some people call me cold for cutting her off completely, but I call it self-preservation. I'm married to an amazing man who loves me unconditionally and has never once made me question my worth. I have a job I'm passionate about, working with clients who respect my expertise. I have real friends like Sarah who protect me when it matters most. I have in-laws who treat me like I've always been part of their family. I finally understand what it feels like to be truly valued, truly loved, truly safe. Chloe tried to destroy my life, but she actually gave me something valuable, absolute clarity about who really matters and what real love looks like. The people who love you don't try to tear you down to build themselves up. They don't sabotage your happiness out of jealousy. They don't use your vulnerabilities against you. Real family, whether blood or chosen, celebrates your successes, supports you through challenges, and protects you when you're in danger. I have that now, and no one can take it away from me. If this story moved you, please hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, share this video with anyone who needs to hear it, and tell me in the comments, have you ever had to cut toxic family members out of your life? What would you have done in Marie's situation? Hit that notification bell too, because I have stories coming that will absolutely blow your mind. Thank you for staying until the end, and remember, always trust the people who have your back when it really counts. Your chosen family is your real family.